Hello, welcome. Thank you very, very much for joining me, Cher. It is lovely to see you here and hear all about your journey. Can you just start us off by telling me a little bit about you, your journey so far?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Cher. I'm a sleep coach, the founder of Thai Baby Sleep, and a mum of two. So I've got a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. And like many sleep coaches, I got into this because both of my children were very tricky when it came to sleep. My background is actually business management and HR. So not in any way anything related to children or sleep. I did a business degree and then a master's in HR, ended up working in HR for quite a few years. Didn't feel it was very supportive of motherhood. I knew I wanted to kind of try and change to do something different. I felt having kids really made me feel like I wanted to do something that was a little bit more rewarding on a personal level. And so that's kind of, how this all kind of started to happen, really.
Yeah. So your own kids had their own range of challenges with sleep, shall
Mhm.
we say. But how
Yeah.
did you get from, oh my word, I'm finding this really difficult as a parent to
Yeah.
I want to do this as a business and support other families. What happened there to get you through that leap?
So there's a few things. So with my son, I saw help everywhere. I mean, this was 9 years ago, so there was not the stuff there is now. There was a few sleep training books telling you to like put them down and leave the room, and that was about it. I saw the GP, I saw the health visitor. I even got referred to the sleep clinic. You pinned all your hopes and dreams on this stuff because he could be awake for hours and hours and hours at night, and this went on for years, even up to the point he was at school. So for me, it was a really, not your kind of normal for your first few months or year of a few wake ups. And it just frustrated me as he got older, looking back that we were basically told, oh, there's nothing we can try. We've tried a reward chart. It was kind of one of them. We've tried all this basic stuff. I was like hoping for something more. And obviously for him, there was underlying factors with his neurodivergence. So it just wasn't explored. And then we had another child midway through that for some crazy reason. And she had a whole other host of issues. So she was an allergy child, super sensitive, reflux, lots of breathing issues and lots of hospital visits. So naturally, she wasn't a great sleeper. And in the end, we used a sleep consultant recommended by a friend. I never even knew this was a thing. I was like, what? This is a thing? Someone, and obviously you're made to feel like it's you need to sleep train. And I honestly believed all that stuff, and I was made for, and at that point, I was so unwell with my mental and my physical health by that point that I just did whatever I needed to do. And after it and on a lot of reflection, it did help me. I won't lie. At the time I was very unwell and it enabled me to kind of get some rest and get a lot better, but it didn't work for very long. I didn't like the fact that I wasn't able to kind of respond to her. Like, what do I do? She's crying. She's meant to go to sleep on her own and like all of this stuff. And just over time, the more I reflected on it, the more I realized I wanted to kind of help parents. And it was a field that, oh God, why didn't I think of this earlier? Like both of my kids have been terrible sleepers. This is like perfect for me. And it was like a bit of a light bulb moment when I saw you could train to do this job. I didn't look into what kind of training there was. I just saw you could do it. Just jumped to the chair a little bit I'm a little bit like that kind of, oh, this looks good. I just do it and not really give it much thought. Yeah. And that's just how it kind of all kind of spiraled from there, really.
Yeah. So tell me about the first training that you did, because it wasn't the holistic sleep coaching program
No,
initially, was it?
no, I trained before I did the holistic, and it was more in line with kind of like more for older ones. There was a lot more psychology in it, but there was a lot more traditional methods for younger children. And the lady had kind of positioned herself as having a degree in psychology and be very much about supporting children. It really wasn't what it was sold to be. And I just didn't feel it was for me, as we had to work with about 16 families, and I didn't feel I was getting much support around it. There wasn't a lot of evidence of what, whenever you questioned anything, it's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. They need to nap for 2 hours at lunch, or every child of 6 months needs to sleep this amount of sleep and nap on this schedule. And it just made no sense to me, and I reflect on my own children and think, well, my son was fed to sleep and that didn't stop him from sleeping through the night as a baby. So you have all those moments where, it just made me think I don't feel equipped and I do not feel confident in going out there and supporting parents. Like when they're questioning you on different areas, which they will, because they're paying you a lot of money for that service, and didn't feel confident going out there to pay clients to do that, which is when I decided to look for further training, really, so I could feel confident, because I've always been someone that's done a lot of research into different things, like with my kids, and it kind of felt like, well, I feel like maybe I've not made the right choice here, and I either continue as I am, feeling unequipped and probably not really getting very far, or I look into more training so I can actually become good at this,
Yeah. And that's a pretty brave decision when you've already invested in one program,
Yeah,
and also takes a lot of like self forgiveness and humility,
yeah,
doesn't it? To go, actually, I've got some gaps here that
yeah,
haven't been plugged by this training, and I think I'm actually going to have to reinvest in
yeah,
something
totally.
else. But I'm curious, like, did you have concerns? Was there a moment where you thought, oh my goodness, I could do the holistic sleep coaching program, and will I be able to plug those gaps, or did you have other fears? Tell me a bit about that.
So the holistic was the one I decided to go for, because when I went onto social media and started to try and, like you do, you're building up a profile, you get told to set up your Instagram and all the rest of it. And there was these coaches out there that were talking about all this stuff. I was like, I haven't been taught about all this stuff. It was a lot more evidence-based. It was a lot more in-depth. They seemed so confident. And I just thought, I want to be like that. I want to come across like that. I want to feel. So for me, that was what led me to go down this route. And I definitely had those moments where I questioned it. And I definitely took a few weeks to make a decision, because you kind of think, like you say, you've invested this money already. You're going to invest more money, and you don't know if you're going to make that back. It's like anything. But I've always been a big believer in, you've got to invest to become like good in anything. Like, along this journey, I've invested in lots of different training and support to become good and to grow my business. So I do actually believe that, everyone's got a skill set, and you have to pay for that skill set if you want to become good at something. You're not naturally just going to be, it's like social media, I'm naturally going to be like a brilliant whiz at knowing how to navigate through all of that. So it was just a decision. I thought these women just come across so confident, and I definitely don't feel like they're feeling, and I'm quite a confident person. So I wanted to be able to answer questions if parents ask me questions, and the same with like Q&As on social media. I wanted to feel equipped to answer questions and not worry that, am I actually making sense or even being accurate in what I'm saying, was a big piece of it as well.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I'm wondering, like, on reflection, when you think about the first training and then the holistic training, can you identify what the actual gaps were? What is it that has been plugged for you?
There was so much. There was so much. Like when I not to kind of big the program up too much, but I had a friend that we did our originally trained together, and we both went on to do the holistic, and we both said, wow, like the difference was insane. There was so much research, so many research papers, everything was evidence-based, and there was so much around attachment, which is so important, and something so many parents worry about. So having that knowledge around attachment, I think, is really important. The family centre care was a huge thing for me, because that wasn't something that the original qualification covered, because I feel like the more traditional methods are really more focused on the outcome and not so much about supporting families. And I definitely feel like I definitely went through a huge element of, I suppose, grief for myself and my own child and what we went through, looking back going, actually, if somebody had come to me and said, we can get you to this place with your child, and it's not going to mean doing stuff which doesn't feel good for you, I would have absolutely been much happier with that. But no one offered me that, and I didn't even know it was an option. So it started to get me looking at things through a whole different lens, really. I suppose I was kind of, repairing myself as a parent and my child, and kind of thinking about other parents and what I wanted to give them. So I felt like that was there was so much more it gave me, like a lot on the science of sleep. For me, naps was a big thing, because there was, the traditional methods are a lot more around naps need to be this, they're not restorative, they're not over an hour, they need to have a 2-hour lunch nap. There's a lot of all that. And I used to think, well, my son is like at school and he's thriving, and he never did a 2-hour lunch nap, and he napped in the car or, in arms or wherever we were. So I wanted to see something which actually told me, what the evidence says about if a child does a 30-minute nap, or, and actually, is there any evidence? I wanted to know everything. It's like, give me it all. I want to know it all. So that's what I found really, really helpful. It's just being able to feel like, it's comprehensive, it's evidence-based. I can go and read papers on this and this and this, and then just the support that came with it, with the Facebook group as well, and having other people to talk to. But also, if there was problems or you were wanting to look at an area, here's a paper on this or a paper on that, and you kind of got that additional support to kind of go and navigate that further, really.
Yeah, amazing. It sounds like it's been really cathartic.
Oh yeah, totally.
I'm a big believer in that idea that no experience or training is wasted, right? And
Absolutely.
I'm curious, like your experience both personally with more non-responsive mainstream approaches, as well as training and dabbling in that work for a little while as a sleep coach initially. How does all of that experience now influence how you support families, how you create content, how you kind of speak to people who might relate to that position that you found yourself in?
Yes, so many ways. And I do think that's had a huge influence on being able to be successful, because I do talk very honestly and openly about my own journey, not just here's how to fix early rising or split. Obviously I help parents with those kind of general, but for me, I want parents to I absolutely want parents to feel empowered and confident. And for me, I suppose I have a little bit more of a unique viewpoint than other coaches, because I'm sure there are some like me, but I think there's a lot of people that went for traditional methods or they went for holistic. But for me, I suppose I have my first hand experience of that journey, and then obviously doing the training and just feeling like, this isn't for me. And that's enabled me to support parents in a bit of a different way, because you do get lots of parents that have, and let's be honest, I think most parents at some point or another have tried sleep training, even if it was just for 5 minutes, they've gone, this is enough, and they've put them down. But there are parents out there that have gone down that route, and then they feel shame about it. So there is something about being able to say, I've been there, like, don't worry, and they do definitely feel, it's nice that you can relate to my journey.
Yeah.
And the same with content. I feel very passionate about not just being a little bit anti-sleep training in the traditional sense, but helping parents to understand what's normal. Because looking back, there was lots of things, even when my son was small, because he wasn't actually a bad sleeper as a baby, it was more as he got older. There was things I was trying to fix because I was told it was broken. My mom saying stuff to me, family members saying stuff to me, or put him down, or that's why he wakes, because he doesn't put himself to sleep. There was all this stuff, and there was nothing out there saying this is normal. And actually, if they had, I think I would have been like, and I've had so many parents say that to me. So that's kind of evolved in terms of how I support parents, what content I put out there. And I did a post recently, which I was really nervous about, which said it was along the sides of babies aren't meant to slot into our lives. The number of messages I had off parents saying, thank you so much for this. This is really, and I was worried they might take it the wrong way. And I was worried, I'd rub people up the wrong way. It wasn't the intent. But I think it is important to be able to kind of give parents that reassurance.
Yeah, amazing. You're doing a wonderful job, and you're right. I think sometimes people are firmly in one camp or the other, and you've got this very relatable, unique experience of having experienced both, so you can kind of speak with that authenticity and credibility of knowing some of the struggles that parents are facing. So yeah, thank you so much for your work. How do you blend your family life with business? What does that look like for you, and how do you make it work?
I mean, it was one of the motivators to doing this. I wanted to have something that worked around them better, because I felt like I had maternity leave, and then I had a bit of extra time off with my second, which was great. And I felt like I was going from being really present and homeschooling and all this during COVID and all that loveliness to going back to work. And it was like full days where I was out the house at like 7:30 in the morning, not getting back in till late, and then noticing their schoolwork was kind of sliding because I wasn't doing any of it with them, because by the time I got home. And so I wanted something that enabled me to have a middle ground. And I felt like, unfortunately, a lot of corporate jobs, particularly, I was at quite a senior level, and you don't get that kind of flexibility. Even if you get to do flexible hours, there's still like, say, 4 condensed days. Well, that's still a lot of hours as a mum when you're trying to manage everything else. So I wanted something flexible. And with this, I do get to take my kids to school every day. It's not always a joy, but I get to do it. So, they can be, but I like the fact that, they have those moments. I take my daughter to gymnastics on a Thursday. It's a small thing, but to her, when she's waving through the window at me every Thursday, 57 times every session, she's going to remember that mummy took me there, and I know that, and I'm going to have those moments. And you see all those blooming posts on Instagram that make you feel rubbish, don't they? But sometimes you'll see one of like, that's that event you take them to where they're waving. They're going to remember that, and you think, yeah, that's what this has given me. So yeah, I've definitely got a lot more balance, I'd say, now more than at the start, because I think naturally when you start to grow a business, if you want it to succeed, you've got a lot of time and energy into that. But I have a really lovely balance now. I get to, my children are at like Church of England schools, so there's lots of events going on regularly. And a lot of all the parents will moan, oh, I can't get to this. It's really makes me feel rubbish that I can't attend these things and the kids want me to. And I do get to go. If I want to do something, I do it. And I work my own hours. I have my own schedule. So, if I'm having a week where I just want to do less, I am able to do that. So yeah, it's great.
Amazing. And in terms of like the financial freedom, have you been able to kind of match your income compared to your corporate job?
Way more. So that has been unexpected and surprising, not planned. I didn't go into this thinking, I want to make as much money or more money than my corporate job. I never thought I would. I just wanted to make enough. My husband's got his own business. We've very much always been 50-50 in what we've done. So I was like, if I can kind of make similar or even a bit less, that's great. I'm okay with taking that hit. So I never expected to get into a position where, I've been able to do things like last summer, we took the whole summer off and we went, just around the UK. It rained the whole time, but it's not the point. We took the kids, we made some memories. And, I've had different holidays this year. I've definitely had more financial freedom. I've been in a position where I've been able to make more money than I made in my full-time job. And I'm definitely not doing the hours I was doing in my full-time job. And I'm doing something I enjoy a lot more. So yeah. It's kind of, it's been amazing.
Amazing. And like loads of people ask, when you're trying to move from job A into working full time as a holistic sleep coach, there comes a point, doesn't there, when you have to actually resign from the job that you don't want to stay in. What did that look like for you, and how did you eventually make that decision and get brave?
It is hard. It's a really hard decision. And I don't think there's a wrong or right way to do it. I know people that have done it in various ways. For me, I'm an all or nothing person. So that's firstly. And I was at a point where I was working 4 days a week. I was dropping balls left, right, and center because it wasn't where my passion was anymore. I'd be like, oh God, there'd be this and there'd be that. And I think it was the elephant in the room at work. Like, they knew my passion was gone. I knew my passion was gone. And I was getting more clients, but it was still a bit like that. But I kind of just made the decision that, look, something's got to give. I was coming home from work and I was working all evening and sometimes working till crazy, and then I'd be going to bed and getting up and I was just burnt out. So I just made the decision to be brave and to just leave. And it was scary because at that time I went from having quite a lot of clients to very few clients. But I just kind of said, you know what, I give this everything. And if it doesn't work, then, I've got my qualifications, I've got my experience, I can go back to work. It's not the end of the world. But for me, I was making enough and I'd saved enough from working, and all of that for a while. That I was like, okay, we can give this a good go. And I tried something a bit different. I did a different social media platform to what a lot of people do. And that was a game changer for me, really. That was when I think there wasn't a lot of gentle coaches, holistic at all, really, on that platform. And that enabled me to really, once I got it working and I had the time to do that, it did just kind of, and then I was like at this place where I was like, okay, things are now steady and that's good. But yeah, so that's really
Amazing.
kind of where I went with it.
Amazing. So you have seen phenomenal growth in your business. What were the specific things that you've done to grow so successfully?
I think there's a few things. I think I found when I first started the business, there's always a lot of noise around, you know, oh, you can't grow, you can't become successful because it's saturated industry. You know, there's so many people on Instagram and all of this, and I did start to get sucked into all of this. It's like, you know, and I just made the decision to try a few different things. So for me, trying a different platform helped. So I still used Instagram, but I went onto TikTok and I started to talk on TikTok, and it was a very different platform, very different kind of way of doing things, but it kind of worked for me. But it also enabled me to learn what people wanted, because you got a lot more engagement on there. So like the parents were telling me what they wanted to see or what problems they were having. So that was really helpful. And that just saw me grow. And I kind of just started to notice that when I was very honest about my own experiences and just offered non-judgmental, very inclusive content, parents really resonated with that. And then you'd see a lot of growth. So I suppose I started to figure out what worked, but it just really took a lot of commitment, to be honest with you, a lot of hard work, a lot of failing, getting back up and trying again, being trolled, like all the stuff you get with having an online business. But yeah, it was just, I think I went for a bit of a niche that kind of worked for me because it was my own experience with my second child. And it just, a lot of parents just felt, oh my God, that is my baby. And I did get a lot of that. Oh my God, that is my baby. And I think it's something that is nice for parents to feel like, you understand, and they want to work with someone that doesn't just have the skills, but has the understanding as a parent that like, this is actually really hard to get through infancy with the child that's like X, Y, or Z, you know? So I think that's really been the key things for me.
Yeah. Hard work and sticking at it by the sounds of things.
Definitely.
Did
Yeah,
you
definitely.
did you imagine, you know, thinking back 3 years, could you have envisaged where you are today?
No, I was thinking about this earlier. Obviously, with this coming up today, I was thinking, you know, I've got 142,000 followers on TikTok, 32,000 on Instagram. Like, as if, like, you know, no way at all. I thought, not a chance. I remember looking at people with like 10,000 followers when I first started out, thinking, oh my God, imagine having. And, you know, there's people on TikTok where I'd idolized when I first joined. And now I look at them and I'm like, God, I've got like 4 or 5 times the followers they have. I remember thinking that would be amazing. So no, never ever thought I would ever get to this kind of growth at all. Like just genuinely never did. So it's just been, yeah, I'm very kind of grateful and just, yeah, I just appreciate the fact that people obviously like me and engage with me, and that's something I'm just grateful for. But in all honesty, the thing that I found the most rewarding, like, yes, the flexibility is great, all of it's important to me, but there is no better feeling for me than having parents reach out to me regularly and just give me like such lovely comments about how I get messages from parents like, you know, I came across you on TikTok, like a lot of that, and you made me trust my instincts and made me unfollow all these accounts. And now my child's a year and they're sleeping through the night and I didn't do anything, you know, and all of that stuff. And I'm like, it genuinely just chokes me, because I think, God, like, that's lovely. You know, what job do you ever get to like influence a person's first year as a mum in that way? So yeah, for me, it's just this job. It's hard work, but it's lovely.
Yeah, amazing. We are very, very proud of you. Just to wrap up then, if you were to meet somebody who wasn't sure whether the holistic sleep coaching program was for them, and they, you know, weren't sure if it was the right fit for them, what would you say?
I would say, firstly, don't be scared to message someone that does the job. I've had lots and lots of people that have gone on to sign up to holistic sleep coaching who have messaged me and asked, who have you trained with? Can I ask you? You always come across like you've got a lot of knowledge and this, that, and the other, or I'm thinking about it. And we will always, a lot of us, I can't talk for everybody, but a lot of us are very friendly and welcoming people, and will always give you a response and a bit of feedback. So I'd say, don't be scared to ask somebody. What I would say is, if you're wondering if it's for you, if you're anything like me, people probably look at me and think, she's probably one of those people that loves the camera. I hate the camera. I've never liked to be on camera. And I think it's being honest with yourself of, do you think you can overcome those things? So do you think you can overcome like putting content out and doing that type of thing and working for yourself and all of that stuff? But if you think you've got the passion and you can kind of work hard, I would absolutely do it. But don't be scared to ask someone who already does it how they find it.
Absolutely. How lovely that it's come full circle. You know, you saw holistic sleep coaches who had that confidence. You wanted a piece of that, and
Yeah.
now people are coming and saying the same stuff to you.
It is lovely. Yeah, it is lovely. Really nice. Yeah.
Amazing. So finally, how can people find you? What's the best way of contacting you? We know about TikTok, but how do they find you on TikTok?
It's Tired Baby Sleep, so that's all they have to search. If they search anything normalizing, my videos will pop up. I've realized this now. Yeah, Tired Baby Sleep, they can find me on Instagram, and the same on TikTok.
Amazing. Thank you very, very much for sharing your story and your journey
My
with us. We
pleasure.
really appreciate you. Thank you, Cher.
Thank you.